Visions of a crime. I began to lose my vision early in adolescence due to a disease that had been passed down through generations in our family. It took a long time, but finally, after several years, I received the news that I would undergo the long-awaited cornea surgery. I was thrilled because I would be able to see things perfectly again, as I could no longer distinguish the faces of my mother, father, or younger brother. I didn't even know what my girlfriend's face looked like. Despite my vision problems, she was always there for me, helping and supporting me in every way possible. At the hospital, just before the surgery began, the doctor mentioned that the man donating his eyes was nearly the same age as me. The doctor didn't say anything else, and the surgery was performed. I woke up from a nightmare, a strange dream in which I saw a man being brutally beaten. I called my girlfriend and she hugged me. A few hours later, the doctor removed the bandages from my face. I could see, albeit somewhat blurred, things around me. After a few weeks, my vision was perfect. I started studying and working to feel independent. My relationship with my girlfriend became more serious to the point where I wanted to join her. But something strange was happening. It was a type of vision. They weren't dreams. They were visions of a man and a woman. Sometimes, I had the same vision of him being assaulted and killed. I would wake up at those times and my eyes would start burning. When this happens, it feels like there are two knives stuck in my face. After a few months living my new life, I couldn't stop researching to try to find out who had brought my vision back. From the time I regained my sight, I quickly learned to use the internet and managed to identify the man from whom I had received the transplant. According to the internet information, in the city's donor data, the donor lived a few kilometers from my home. I really wanted to visit his house. I left in my car, my girlfriend's vehicle. It had been a while since she last drove, since that night when she arrived late at her mom's house. I know there was a very strong storm that day. My girlfriend didn't say what happened, but I know it was serious, so serious that she began to reject her own car. I arrived at the house. I thought about knocking on the door to speak with someone, but I just stood there observing, lacking the courage. As I was leaving, an old woman looked at me and I looked back at her. The grandma said she recognized my eyes. She asked if I wanted something, but I replied that no, I was just passing by. She kept talking about my eyes. I said I had undergone a transplant surgery and wanted to say hi to one of the family members of the boy who had donated his eyes to me. The old woman smiled and said that he was her grandson, whom she had raised as a son and who had been murdered. I didn't want to bother or reopen old wounds for the old lady, but she seemed like she wanted to talk, so I listened. The grandma said that before he died, her grandson was in love with a girl and they had planned to get married, but one night, she was the victim of an accident, leaving her boyfriend crazy, unable to work or live peacefully without his beloved. According to her words, the worst part was that the person who ran over her grandson's girlfriend didn't stop to help, and she drowned in a puddle of water that had formed on that horrible stormy night. The old woman said that her grandson started hanging out in bars, getting into fights, and in one of these fights, he was beaten to death. I was shocked by her words, as I had many visions of someone being attacked. I think it was the young man from whom I received the cornea transplant. I asked if the responsible parties had been arrested. The old woman said no, as they were affiliated with local gangsters, a group of 5 young people with dangerous parents. No one dared to confront them, not even the police. I left the place, pale and distressed. A look of shock was on my face, as there was too much information in one day, and a huge tragedy involving someone who was responsible for my vision. I'm on my way home from work. It's Saturday, December 29th. The year is about to end and I'll be able to watch the fireworks explode, marking a happy new year for me and my family. I stopped at a gas station to refuel. I was distracted, waiting for the tank to fill up, when I saw some guys passing by with bottles, dressed like troublemakers, gang groups. At that moment, My arms started trembling and I couldn't move my body anymore. I started feeling cold and my eyes were burning, hurting enough for me to close them. I had a vision. I saw those boys beating someone else to death. It was the person I had been dreaming about a few nights ago. At that moment, I became aware that my nightmares had become real. My eyes won't stop hurting. After the car tank finally filled up, I leaned against a public garage, my head on the car seat, and passed out. I wake up with my body aching in various parts and my mind spinning like vertigo. A feeling of nausea swirls in my stomach and I am sitting on the ground, bathed in blood. Slowly, my vision stops being blurry and I notice brutally murdered bodies. It's those guys. Apparently, they were beaten and stabbed. There is a knife near my feet. I leave the scene and manage to get into my car. Even covered in blood, no one noticed me. I return home and a few hours later, I receive news that a group of young men from the area was annihilated in a massacre. So far, the police are treating everything as a fight between rival groups. After these deaths, a few months passed and I married my girlfriend, who said she was ready for us to have children. We were very happy. At a moment when we were talking and discussing our lives, she said she wanted to tell me a secret she had kept from me. Then she began to say that on a certain rainy night, she was very eager to get home. In a moment of distraction, however, she ran over a woman who crossed the road and her boyfriend was later killed, months later, the victim of a beating. When I hear these words, my arms start trembling. I begin to sweat, my vision darkens, and my eyes won't stop burning. Until everything goes dark